So to be absolutely clear on the part of your unit circle that you're going to need to fill out by yourself, you need to be able to fill out the radians and the degrees, as well as the coordinates, which we just did. The first quadrant is the minimum, so that's the proficient level. The full circle is the highly proficient level. So, you will not be allowed notes for that part, so make sure that you're aware of that. Okay, if you can memorize it, better if you can understand it. So, when we're looking at our triangles, and we'll go with the 45 triangle first. When we think about an XY value, just say any coordinate, the X value tells us how much to go over, the Y value tells us how much to go up. We know these values when it comes to a radius of 1, which we know we have because this is the coordinate 1, 0, this is the coordinate 0, 1, so on and so forth. So my coordinates here, the X value is rad 2 over 2, and the Y value is also rad 2 over 2. Not 3, 2, sorry. So, the 30-degree triangle, when we put this here, has an X value of rad 3 over 2 and a Y value of 1/2. Finally, the 60-degree has an X value of 1/2 and a Y value of rad 3 over 2. Now, what we know about graphs are that our X values are positive on this side, our X values are negative on this side, our Y values are positive up here, and our Y values are negative down here. So once we know all these pieces of information, we can just translate that over to the others. So the mirror image on this side, rather than being just 1/2 and rad 3 over 2, what's going to be different about that one? X is negative, so it's going to be negative 1/2. Rather than just being rad 2 over 2 and rad 2 over 2, once again, my X value is negative. So this one is going to be rad 3 over 2, and then my Y value is going to be 1/2. So as I move around the circle, what is going to be different about these? All of them are going to be negative. So make sure you keep track of which ones are your mirror images. So this one's going to be negative rad 3 over 2, negative 1/2, negative rad 2 over 2, and negative rad 2 over 2. And this one's going to be negative 1/2, negative rad 3 over 2. As we move over this direction, our X's are positive and our Y's are negative. So 1/2, negative rad 3 over 2, rad 2 over 2, and negative rad 2 over 2. And then rad 3 over 2, and negative 1/2. So, the question that I followed up with was how this relates to your sine and your cosine. So, what I'm going to do is take a piece of paper, just a moment. Sorry. Let's say I have my 60-degree triangle here. If I want to know, based on this triangle, what the sine of 60 is, what do? Sine is found by what two sides? Opposite and hypotenuse. So the sine of 60 on this one is going to be what? So rad 3 over 2 divided by? What's the hypotenuse? 1. So the sine of 60 is rad 3 over 2. What about the cosine of 60? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So 1/2 over 1. So the cosine of 60 equals 1/2. So, if I look at how that relates to, this is my 60-degree one, how do, I can't see that, how do those values relate to what's happening over here? X is your, which one? Cosine. And Y is your sine value. So, on each of these, if I'm looking for, let's say I look for the cosine of 45, what is that going to be? Square root of 2 over 2. What about the sine? Sorry, that was the cosine. Sine will also be square root of 2 over 2. And that part makes sense because on our 45, whether we're looking at the opposite over the hypotenuse or the adjacent over the hypotenuse, the opposite and adjacent sides are the same one, or the same length. So, sine and cosine of 45 are both going to be rad 2 over 2. So, if I'm looking at this, as I go around the circle, let's say I have my 300 down here. What's my cosine of 300?
Negative rad 3 over 2.
You sure?
Is that the right one?
It's 1/2.
1/2.
Yeah, so the cosine of 300 degrees is going to be 1/2. The sine of 300 degrees is going to be negative rad 3 over 2. So, hopefully, you have some understanding about where these numbers are coming from. That understanding will serve you a little bit better in terms of filling out the unit circle with the degrees, the radians, and the coordinates. So next class, we'll kind of move on a little bit, and we'll do a little bit of review of those concepts that you will get tested over on Thursday. So, that is it for this portion of the unit circle. I do have a worksheet for you that goes along with this, practicing that assigning values, so I will give you that in a moment.